The shooting occurs in the old part, towards the back, out towards Hope Street. In that older part of the building, there are fewer, if any, cameras in that location. The only video of the person of interest, you have it.
The investigation of the Brown University mass shooting is now in its fourth day. At this point, the person of interest still at large. Earlier today, Providence authorities released new images of someone they believe was casing the school on Saturday. They've asked for the public's help in identifying any patterns seen in the few images that they have. So what can we gain from the newly enhanced pictures? Dan Brunner is a retired FBI special agent and president of the security consulting firm Brunner Sierra Group. Dan, this search is now entering its fourth day. What do you make of the fact that the suspect still has not been caught?
Well, I think that everybody has to understand that this individual had the foresight that he was going to do this. So he had the advantage of getting away. So my best recollection of how these things work, when I worked these fugitive matters, we had to first get into his mind as to why he was conducting this attack. I believe that this individual targeted this building, targeted these students for a very personal reason. The individual wanted to do damage, wanted to inflict harm on this building, these students. If this individual was a school shooting, he would have continued. Many of the school shootings that want to do as much damage as possible, they end up getting killed by law enforcement or taking their own lives. This individual wanted to right a wrong which he believed was wronged upon him and then walk away. The individual now is on the run. This is the important part, is with the pressure being put on him, the pressure in the media and the pressure that law enforcement is, eventually he's going to make a mistake. The first example I can bring forward is Luigi Mangione. He was on the run for a number of days, and with the pressure pushing on him, he got tired, he got cold, he made a mistake, pulled his mask down. That's all that's going to happen here, and it's just going to take a one mistake, and then law enforcement should be able to jump on him.
Yeah, your theory, your deduction is a really interesting one, because up until now, a lot of us have been comparing this shooting with other school shootings because the common denominator is that it happened in a place of learning. But as you point out, there were some very significant differences here in that it was not just this kind of mass shooting of every target that's out there and then going out in a hail of gunfire. So as you suggest, maybe it was very specific. But then that raises a question for me that this many days later, shouldn't authorities be able to look at the people who were hit and kind of determine, all right, these people may have been hit incidentally, they may not have been intended targets, but we can tell from the intended targets a little bit more about the motive of the shooter?
Well, we can't narrow ourselves down to, investigators can't narrow themselves down to only the students. I'm sure that every single one of those students are being looked at and being asked, is there someone in your past or someone? But what else needs to be looked at is everything. Everything from a janitor who may have been fired 6 months ago and he was upset at the school, or it be a professor or someone from 15 years ago who was a student at the school, and they have what they feel is they were wronged by the university or in some way. So every single one of these paths, these possibilities, will be investigated by the FBI. They have some of the best analysts, they have the best intelligence special agents. They're all working together in the FBI Boston division in a command post where they're all located in this one large room where all information is being processed and collected. Cellular phones analysis is being conducted. Physical evidence is being analyzed. Leads are being interviewed. Individuals are being interviewed. That is something as small as the coat that he's wearing, that two-tone coat. I'm sure they've been identified who the maker is, and then they're going to look at every store that's in the area that sells that coat, and then I'm sure they're sending out agents and police officers from the Massachusetts to go see if there's a clue, see if there's one possibility of an individual who just fits that match, who's 5'8", slightly larger, and has a very distinct gait to him and walk. And these are the things that create the leads and they create the momentum for the investigation.
Which leads me to my final question to you. Another thing that kind of surprises me is, given those images, now we don't know if that is the gunman, but we do know that it's a person of interest for investigators. I would have thought by now somebody watching that video would have recognized that gait, that body type, and would have been able to identify this person. Does it surprise you that that apparently hasn't happened yet?
Well, we don't know a lot. and we don't know what we don't know. So there may be information that the FBI in Boston and the Providence police are working, and then they have maybe identified an individual. The last thing we want to do is exactly like you said, this is an individual, a person of interest. So putting the person's name out there saying he's been identified as such and such a person without yet knowing exactly if they are the shooter is very reckless and very dangerous. We see that from the Boston bombing, where the two individuals were identified as the bombers, and that came out wrong. We don't want to get in front of the investigators because that causes a lot of damage to investigations in fugitive manhunts. Not to mention, it alerts the subject that they are now really onto him. So that the fact of the we don't know this, that we have the photographs, I think that's a lot, but there's a lot that we don't know and that we have to let the investigators do. Putting leads, putting evidence on social media, on tweets and Twitter, that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. So letting the investigators work and go in this direction, I think that's the best plan.
You sound fairly confident that they're going to have a successful end to this investigation.
Listen, I know I've worked in the crisis management and division for Newark and Newark, New Jersey. I am very confident that this individual is going to get tired. He's going to make a mistake. And just like Luigi Mangione, he's going to trip up because of the pressure is on him. Technology these days, cellular analysis, video evidence, and it's going to come out. There's more and more evidence that I'm sure FBI Boston is working on at this time. And they're working with their partners from state and local, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. All of them have banded together and putting all of their heads together. Yes, I am confident that this individual will be captured. I predict in the next 2 to 3 days, when they get tired and make a mistake, or if somebody provides, the pressure, if that person is able to see and say, okay, that could be my friend, they may be nervous for like a day or two to say something. But eventually, when they thought about it long enough, they may feel the courage to pick up and call 911 and say, I think that may be the person I know. And that's where the tip, and that's where it's going to change.
It's really nice having your perspective. Dan Brunner is a retired FBI special agent and president of Brunner Sierra Group. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.